I just got back from my trip to London and now it is time to actually finalize the setup over here with the new Apollos and add whatever is inside of these DW Fern boxes. So let's get going. The big thing I want to do today is hook the monitors over there, the heads and the ATCs to the X4 over there, because now they're coming from the monitor output of the X16. But if I want this to be my monitor control unit and I want SonarWorks on the headphones over here, then I have to run the monitors from the X4. So let's go ahead and swap those over. Okay, so let's unplug those first. For those of you that didn't remember from the previous video on the Apollo X16, the ins and outs from channels 1 through 8 go to the Mini SSL. So the output over here goes to the line input over there. And then the group output over here, so the end of the channel goes to the line inputs 1 through 8 on the Apollo, and then 9 through 16 goes to all of this outboard gear in the desk. And that is actually what I also want to do today, because I want to shuffle some stuff around, because as you can see, the desk is pretty full right now, so I need to make some room for whatever is in those boxes. The monitor outputs on the X16 are XLR outputs, but here I've got jack outputs. So these are going to be feeding my ATCs, and then line out 1 and 2 are going to the heads. But the inputs on both of these monitors are XLR, so I need to find some TRS to XLR cables first. There's the first set of cables, number 3. And for the last one, I'm just going to have to add a converter cable to the existing XLR, but hey. Okay, all the cables are in. I'm using this temporarily because I don't have another XLR to TRS. And there's one issue over here. This cable over here to the left pair of speakers, yeah, that's just too short. That doesn't work for me. Yeah, I'm like 2 minutes into hooking everything up and I'm already doing this with the cable. So that is definitely not the way to go. That would mean that this X4 needs to go to that side, so the entire power supply of the Neve has to go there as well. Which might be nicer, because then I can move the Neves over here and then I've got the output controls next to the Neves. And it's a little bit nicer. I also then have my right hand on the mouse and I can do the volume control with my left hand. It just means that this job is going to take a little bit more time than I thought it would. There's a couple of things I want to move around in these racks, because this V-comp is amazing over there, but the transformer over there is sticking out a little bit. Sometimes it gets in the way of my leg. And I want to move the 1178 down a little bit, because then I can get a better view of the knob. So maybe this needs to go there, and then the Carnaby goes here. Then the V-comp goes up. We just need to find a spot for the WA1B and the 73 pre. Let's go. First box, let's see what we've got. A lot of backing material on this thing. Nice. We've got a Hazelrigg VNE. That's their compressor. And then over there, is there going to be another compressor? Or are we getting something of a preamp? That is going to go there. Woo! And let's have a look at the other box. We're getting, nice, the VLC. So that's a preamp and EQ. That is going over there. That's a nice channel strip. I am really curious how that combo is going to sound. The slight issue that I am getting right now when the SSL is rolled out that way is that the cable to the X4 is not long enough. So I need to disconnect that whenever I want to roll the SSL out if I need to do maintenance, but hopefully after this is done I don't have to do that anymore for a long time. Those two D-subs over there break out, as you call it, to XLR over here that goes into the gear in the desk. So we've got one D-subs coming from the outputs of the Apollo to these male connectors, and then these female connectors go from the outputs of the gear to the Apollo X16, and all of these cables are numbered, as you can see over here. It's 1 through 8, and now I need to figure out which piece of gear in the desk goes to which input and output. Okay, I've switched everything around and everything is back in the desk. The way I've got it set up is that 1 and 2 on the Apollo are now the Neve 1073s. Then I've got this and this on 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8. What I might do, because now I don't have the V-comp hooked up, is make this one chain. So just go from the output of this to the input of this, and then this is in an output 4. But for now I really want to try what these are doing independently, so I'll just keep it like that for now. So let's quickly go over the Hazelrigg units. You've got the VLC and the VNE. The VLC is a channel strip, and then the VNE is a compressor. So you've got the combo input plug on the front, which is really nice. You also have it on the back, of course. Then you've got the gain over here. It's a nice solid knob. You can switch between mic line and instrument. Then you've got 48 volts, 20 dB pad, the polarity, so your phase, and then EQ in or bypass. Then you've got a low cut, low boost, and high cut, and here you've got a switch for every band to select a high frequency or a low frequency. They don't tell you which frequencies they are, which I really like, because then you're actually using your ears instead of underneath where you go like, oh, that must sound like that because it's 4.8K. And then you've got the VNE, which is a pulse width modulation compressor. I also had never heard of it before I heard of these units, but apparently they're great. You've got this threshold over here, again a really nice knob. You've got bypass in and a high pass filter. I'm assuming that's a sidechain high pass filter to make the compressor not react to the low end too much. Then you've got attack, release, and gain. And gain reduction, again, no metering. You just have to set it by ear and trust that the unit is not going to mess anything up. Let me know in the comments down below if you want me to make a dedicated video about these units and what kind of video you'd like me to make. Do you just want me to run some tracks through it and hear how they sound, or do you actually want a comparison between Neve 1073 and a CL1B, for example, maybe a full-on recording session, whatever? Name it down below and I'll see what I can do. Okay, so this cable now goes here, and then we're going into monitors left and line out 1. Over here we've got the other cable here, monitor right. Yes, I need to get a decent line plate for this, but they are $400. I don't want to spend that kind of money. And then we've got the right one, which is a bit tight, but I don't need to walk there, so we'll be fine. That goes into line out number 2. Okay, that is definitely much better. I also got a DM from someone asking me why I have the heads on top of the ATCs and not next to them. I would love to have them next to the ATCs, but as you can see over here I've got the balcony door and I really do want to have access to that. Also, I'm not going to put them more in because then they're blocking sunlight, because yes, this is a studio, but it is also very much a living room, a very messy living room right now, but I kind of need to make some concessions because I'm also living here and not just working here. And maybe some of you noticed that I flipped them back again because I had them upside down so the tweeter would be a little bit lower and just overshoot my ear by a couple of centimeters. But now actually I'm going to see how these are going to sound like this, because they're actually the same level as my ears when I stand up. So now I've got a sitting down set of speakers and I've got a standing up set of speakers. I just need a sit stand desk that comes up with me. That can also hold all this gear. Yeah, just bought the Sessiondesk. I don't know if I'm actually going to buy a new desk. The next thing I want to do is actually set all my input and output routing. We are going over here to settings, and then you can see that there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's not exactly how I want it. In blue, we've got the Apollo X4, and in green, we've got the Apollo X16. Now, because I had the Apollo X16 as the main unit and the monitor unit, it was set up in a certain way, but I want to set that up differently. Okay, so first I want the monitor left and the monitor right to come in on 1 and 2. This is one of the features that I absolutely love about the Apollos, because now I can set up outputs 1 and 2 to go to my monitors, and inputs 1 and 2 go to my monitors as well. So when I do a screen recording for a mix breakdown or whatever, or I'm doing a remote session with someone, I can just pick inputs 1 and 2 for whatever program I'm using, and that sends the output of the Apollo directly to the recording or the stream or whatever. Then on input 3, I want input 1 of the X4 and so on. So 4 is going to be input 2, 5 is going to be input 3, and then over here on the outputs I want it to do the same. So that is going to be A line 1, that is going to be A line 2, A line 3, and A line 4. That way, because I work with Pro Tools, and Pro Tools just needs an input and output that are the same. So if I set up a hardware insert inside of Pro Tools on channel 3, it sends it out to line output 1, and then it expects it back on line input 1 as well. Then 7 and 8 I'm just going to leave empty for now. Maybe I'll do something with it in the future. From 9 I am actually going to B line 1, so that's the first line input on the X16, and then the next one is going to be B line 2 and until 16. And then over here we can actually set the numbers of inputs and outputs we are going to use. So we can just dial that down to 32. Otherwise we'll get a massive list inside of Pro Tools, and I don't really want that. Now I've got 8 inputs and outputs over here that are unassigned, and 2 inputs and outputs over here that are not assigned. That's fine, we'll figure that out later what that needs to be. For now, this is how I want this to be set up. Maybe if I need dedicated Q outputs, I can put them over here, and if I need more virtual stuff, I can actually put it over here as well. Another thing I really want to do right now is rename the inputs and outputs, because that is why I have everything on dedicated inputs and outputs, because now I can say B line 1, and that is SSL out 1, and then the next one is going to be SSL out 2, 1, and over here we've got SSL in 1 and SSL in 2, 1. You get the idea? And then over here on in and output 9 of the X16, I can actually say this is going to the 1073 out 1, and then 1073 in 1, 1073 out 2, and 1073 in 2. And I can do that with all of the output gear. So whenever I pick someone in Pro Tools, I don't have to figure out, okay, this is output 11, so that goes to the Hazelrigg VLC, and then that is where that is going. And then I don't need to think about it. I can just, exactly like I'm setting up a plugin, I can just go into the window, say, hey, that is my second 1073. I want you to go there. So the only thing I can't hook up right now is the VCOM Plus, but I have to make decisions and I don't know what is going to stay. Maybe the Carnaby is going to stay, maybe the Hazelrigg stuff is going to stay. I hope I can make that all work, because now these units are on demo over here, so I can see what they sound like and make videos about them. And then eventually I might be able to actually keep them, at least I hope. And then there's one thing I need to figure out where it is, because I now need to set up the heads as my second output, as my alt output. So alt count over here I'm setting to 1, and that should allow me to use outputs 1 and 2 over here on the X4 as my alternate output. Okay, that's both of those monitors set up. It's really great to be able to switch to a secondary set of monitors so quickly. So I might even add a third. No. I'm not going to go crazy again. I don't need to add. Okay, so that seems to be working. It's really nice to have 2 sets of monitors, because the ATCs are full range and big and powerful, and then the heads are really precise, but they're just a different design. They have a very different tweeter because it's a ribbon tweeter. They're pretty powerful for such a small monitor. They're a really great addition to the setup over here, so I really like it. And it seems to work pretty good to be able to stand up and listen to the heads and then sit down and listen to the ATCs. I think that's fun as well. It gets me to work out a little bit too, which might be a good thing because I'm getting a little chubby. Next steps that I want to do is, now because the X4 is doing all the monitoring, if I now turn off the X4, it's going to send a spike to my monitors, and that's not great for the tweeters. So I want to add a power switch somewhere that turns off and on the monitors separately. And I also want to add a TC Electronics meter, the clarity amp meter, so I can actually see all the metering stuff. And I hope I can use the AES output of the Apollo X16 for that, and otherwise I need to sacrifice one of the digital outputs on the Apollo X4. But you'll see that soon. I'm going to see if I can invest in that. I also need to buy a 500 series slot, because I've got this one and I've got the DIY recording equipment 73P, so that's already 3 slots I need to fill. So if you know any good 500 series racks, let me know down below. I know that Heritage makes really good ones. Cranbourne Audio has a really exciting one with a lot of extra features. There's many more, but I'm not completely sure which one I should get. Maybe I should try a couple and then see if the power supply actually makes a difference to how these units are going to sound. I'm not sure, but maybe that's fun to find out. Okay, enough yapping for today. I hope you liked this random vlog style video that didn't really have a specific subject. I've got new stuff lined up. I filmed a lot of interesting stuff over in London, but I need to figure out if I can actually use the footage. But if I can, I've got some really cool stuff for you. That's it on my end. If you want to support the channel, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to learn more about mixing, recording and studio stuff in general, there's a join button down below that takes you to the virtual internship, and there you'll find an exclusive selections of mix breakdowns and recording walkthroughs and a couple of extra bits as well. Okay, I'm gonna make some dinner. I'll see you in the next one. Later.